Tonight, a South Australian Royal Commission finds horrific mismanagement of the Murray-Darling River and new snapper regulations putting pressure on local fishing charters.
From our 7 Spencer Golf studios, your nightly news with Louise Hedger begins now.
Good evening. Port Augusta's old power station site will once again provide jobs and investment for the region with a $250 million bulk commodity and transshipment facility announced today. Around 250 jobs are forecast across the life of the project run by CU Mining.
The rubble is still fresh from the demolition of one of the region's most historic pieces of industry, but the site where the power station once stood will now be transformed. CU River Mining, who have an existing iron ore mine at Carn Hill, southeast of Pirie, will build the $250 million port facility to handle and store iron ore, grain and other commodities.
We decided to purchase this property because we see it as a strategic and significant acquisition for us.
A port will be built in the Spencer Gulf, with barges and cape-sized vessels to be used to export mining commodities, meaning a long-awaited return of commercial shipping to Port Augusta for the first time in nearly 50 years.
This is a tremendous potential opportunity for Port Augusta, extra jobs.
The deal is forecast to deliver 150 jobs at its peak and a further 100 permanent positions as operations begin.
Our commitment is to look locally first. We think 100 jobs in Port Augusta is a really big impact to the jobs market.
Initial storage capacity is estimated to hold around 15 million tonnes per annum, with hopes to hold up to 50 tonnes in the future. Existing infrastructure, including a 5-kilometre rail loop and unloading systems, will be retained under the new contract. Operations are expected to get underway in 2 years' time. Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Golf News.
South Australia's Royal Commission into the Murray-Darling River system has found gross maladministration by those in charge. The Commission report made public yesterday also accused the Basin Authority of conducting unlawful and negligent actions. Patrick Reinke has the details.
The South Australian Government established the Murray-Darling Basin Royal Commission early last year. It was set up to investigate the management of the river system. The Commission's 736-page report was released yesterday. The report includes 111 findings and 44 recommendations aimed at improving the Murray-Darling Basin Plan. The report's commissioner has taken aim at the Murray-Darling Basin Authority, claiming they had been unlawful and performed maladministration. An example was when the plan was first discussed in 2010, there was a suggestion that 7,600 gigalitres should be returned to the waterways. A lower figure of around 4,000 was also floated, but scientists didn't think it would be effective. The final figure in the plan was set at only 2,750 gigalitres after backlash from multiple water users, including irrigators. The report said a decision was made based on politics and not science. It also said the MDBA is not as transparent as they claim to be. Among the 44 recommendations made in the report, a complete overhaul of the water allocations under the Murray-Darling Plan, including more for the environment, future water recovery to be reclaimed through buybacks and the repeal of a 1,500 gigalitre buyback cap, and the immediate formation of an independent basin-wide monitoring program to ensure the authority does not mark its own work. A copy of the report can be found on the Murray-Darling Basin Commission website.
60 drivers were reprimanded this week during a police operation at school drop-off zones. Operation Return to School was conducted at 228 schools across the state on Tuesday, the first day of the education year. Expiation notices were handed out for offences ranging from speeding to unlicensed driving and driving without a seatbelt. 2 people were also caught driving without their provisional licences. Police say these results show people need to pay more attention around school zones. The South Australian oyster industry is officially back on its feet, with 4 Eyre Peninsula hatcheries producing enough juvenile oysters for the state's growers. A sigh of relief for the industry following the severe spat shortage caused by the POMS outbreak 3 years ago.
A bright future beckons once more for the South Australian oyster industry.
We now have certainty in the oyster industry for juvenile oysters in the form of spat, but look, we're not out of the woods yet.
It was 3 years ago that the state's industry was hit by the outbreak of the POMS disease in Tasmania. It caused a severe spat supply shortage for SA, which imported 80% of its juvenile oysters from Tasmania. Since then, PIRSA has helped produce more than 106 million spat. But it's the collaboration between 4 new and existing hatcheries that's seen the state's industry become fully self-sufficient here on the Eyre Peninsula.
First goal was to get bulk amount of oysters to growers so that they were using their farms for some kind of productive means.
But now the goal and task is producing the various size of spat to meet grower expectations.
That's underway at the moment, and size is increasing monthly.
While the challenge for farmers is bouncing back from the severe economic setback from supply shortages.
The real question is how do the growers go over the next 14 months to get that spat now to a marketable size ready for the consumer?
This year, it is a year to recover, and then the following seasons is a year to rejoice. But we've got through a very uncertain time.
Casey Trelaw, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The Copper Coast Council is asking its local residents to be part of the bigger picture. A component of the region's 10-year strategic plan is looking to give the public an opportunity to participate in organising future community projects.
From upgraded park spaces to newly paved roads, the Copper Coast community has proudly been the visionary behind many of the area's infrastructure projects. And the council is again looking for ideas to implement into the budget going into 2022.
We've only just started this process, and the first step in the process is to see what the community wants.
The next 10 years are going to be an exciting time on the Copper Coast, and the council are hoping that the public come up with new creative ideas, maybe something like this playground. Kadeena's $10.5 million upgrade to its sport and leisure centre was just one of the ideas that came into fruition last round.
It's a time where we can dream big and think of those things that are greater than just our 1-year annual business plan.
Locals will have a chance to have their say on the projects they would or wouldn't like to see money spent on.
There's no point with us coming up with great ideas if it's not the direction the community wants us to go in.
Postcards are being distributed throughout the Copper Triangle, with copies inside the local Waipi Times and a virtual copy on the council's Facebook page. Adding shade cloths to Moonta's Splashtown, an emergency parking space at the Wallaroo boat ramp and railing at Port Hughes Jetty are just some of the ideas that have already been vocalised. Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, Port Pirie businesses celebrating support for outdoor signage and alfresco dining, and why the fishing charter industry is concerned about new snapper regulations. Welcome back. South Australian towns looking to boost the health of their residents can now apply for up to $50,000 worth of state government funding. The Health Minister says the initiative is aiming to improve the well-being of regional areas.
There's an old saying that your health is all you've got. In regional communities across SA, it's a major issue, with statistics showing people living outside Adelaide aren't as healthy as they think.
I think a lot of people in rural and regional South Australia say, well, I live and work outside, that's an active lifestyle, I'm healthy.
Community groups looking to be part of the solution in their own towns and cities can now secure state government support. Grants of $50,000 are now available through the Healthy Towns initiative, and applicants are encouraged to be creative. Mr. Wade says the last round of funding supported a range of projects that were thinking outside the square.
Used a supermarket as a base for screening tests. Another provided affordable, healthy food to people who couldn't otherwise afford it. Others focused on cycling.
Mr. Wade says the aim is to empower rather than handball the issue. He says local organisations know their communities better than government bureaucrats, and they deserve support to see it through.
Communities understand their communities best. Communities are more likely to support an initiative that's locally grown and locally delivered.
To apply, visit the SA Health website. Applications close April 15. John Hunt, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
You may have felt it, but now it's official. South Australia experienced one of its warmest and driest Januaries on record. Many regional centres saw record high temperatures, including Port Lincoln, which experienced its hottest ever day on the 24th, reaching 48.3 degrees. Port Augusta tipped the state's January thermometer, soaring to 49.5 degrees.
Not only South Australia's third highest ever recorded temperature, but it was also the highest temperature recorded for anywhere in Australia during January this year.
There was also minimal rain across the state, many areas receiving just 20% of their average rainfall. And the conditions are unlikely to let up yet, with the Bureau expecting warmer than usual temperatures to stick around for the next 3 months. Small businesses in Pirie CBD are celebrating the deregulation of front-of-store signage and outdoor seating. Shops will no longer be required to pay fees for advertising on the surrounding footpaths or for al fresco dining.
Cutting red tape sure sounds like a sign of better things to come. 25 Port Pirie shop fronts can rejoice over a little tax relief.
So the council's decided that it would release the fees that we charge for putting out objects on the footpath.
For cafes and shops putting out pot plants, signs and clothing, they've had to pay up a front-of-store licence, which can cost between $46 to $1,200. Council has voted on removing the regulations, foregoing several $1,000s in revenue to encourage local businesses to draw in more foot traffic.
We've relaxed that now, so there is no licence. So we'd love to see some of the shop owners have plenty of displays out the front of their shop, make us look like we're open for business.
The Port Pirie Council is also hoping to bring music back to the CBD, encouraging buskers to take to the streets. Buskers aren't a common sight in Port Pirie, but it's hoped the changes will draw them in.
Well, there's never been a lot of buskers around. We've had a couple over the times, but hey, yes, we would love to see it. I mean, it's just nice to be walking around the street and hear some good music.
A number of outdoor spaces are being underutilised, and the council is eager to incentivise locals to get out of their homes and enjoy what the town has to offer.
We have like a nanny state, I suppose, in some respects, and we're trying to sort of loosen it up so the community has ownership.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A year after development began on Port Augusta Secondary School's new STEM building, the project is finally up and running. Students have already started classes in the facility, which boasts some of the latest high-tech equipment.
As students walked in for classes to begin a new year, they were greeted with a brand new facility.
It's really exciting to be in the new building. I guess it's been a lot of work.
Construction on the new workplace for science, technology, engineering and mathematics began early last year, with the help of $2.5 million of funding from the state government.
The centre's really built around kids engaging in solving problems.
3D printers, new software and a laser cutter are just some of the modern technologies students can sink their teeth into.
It's a practical-based subject. There's a lot of hands-on activities, hands-on work.
The centre holds particular importance as students eye off their future careers.
The data shows that basically the jobs heading into the future are going to be around innovation, and particularly with sort of STEM skill sets.
The classes have already begun in the new facility.
So it's not just a matter of pull the trigger and away you go. You've actually got to think about how fast or slow you're going.
And the state-of-the-art building is already a hit with learners.
It's like more spacious than all the other classrooms.
It's a bit different from the rest of school, but I think it goes really well with what we're learning here.
Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Concerns are being raised about the effects a ban on snapper fishing could have on the charter industry throughout the Spencer Gulf. A Whyalla business says proposed restrictions won't have a lot of impact on fishing numbers, but may hurt the industry itself.
Steve Storick has been in the fishing charter game for around 20 years. He's concerned the snapper capital of Australia is in dire straits, with numbers as bad as he's ever seen. Sensing this, his industry at a crisis meeting last month agreed to slash their bag limits.
Charter fishing sector offered to take almost a 50% quota cut, which was put forward and approved.
However, further regulations were also implemented, including a total ban on fishing in the Point Lowly and selected Spencer Gulf areas. Steve says they were given just 24 hours notice of the changes, and it's affected his and other charters' business.
Already I've had several clients cancel charters because they know we can't fish in the area anymore.
The peak industry body says the concerns are growing statewide. Neil McDonald from the Owners and Operators Association says they feel they've sacrificed a lot, while other sectors haven't done as much heavy lifting.
In some contexts, yeah, the charter boat industry and particularly its clients took a bit of a double whammy.
Mr. Storick says more research should be done, along with investment in reefs in the Gulf. He also believes certain commercial practices need to be restricted to protect the species.
The longliners doing what they're allowed to do, they do come in and have a large impact on taking those big schools.
Purser did not comment before deadline. John Hunt, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. We'll have cricket tips and all the weekend weather details. Welcome back. The board of AFL Broken Hill is looking to set up an interleague game against a combined South Australian team. As well as talking to officials in the far north near Roxby Downs, discussions are also going to be held with the Spencer Golf League.
We're only in the heart of summer, but many minds are on the upcoming football season. As teams hit the pre-season track, officials are keen on revisiting representative footy.
2016 we played the last of the Miners' Cup. Now we played the Far North League of South Australia, which is based around Roxby Downs. Now that competition ran for 10 years.
The Miners' Cup gave players from both leagues a chance to play a curtain raiser game prior to an AFL match on Adelaide Oval. The last one was held in 2016. Since then it's just been local footy games every weekend.
So we've been striving now in the last couple of years for a combined game against a league, and particularly have a game here in Broken Hill.
The plan is for Broken Hill to play against a league on their turf this year and then host them in 2020, when the Jubilee Oval has undergone its multi-million-dollar redevelopment. Mr. Schmidt says he's already had discussions with the Far North, but also touched base with the Spencer Golf League,
who won't be playing against Whyalla this year on the Queen's birthday weekend. So the discussions are along the lines whether Broken Hill would like to fill that window of opportunity against the Spencer Golf League.
And it wouldn't just be for the lads. There's potential for a women's combined game to be held as well. AFL Broken Hill will put the idea to the city's clubs next week. Patrick Ryanke, 7 Spencer Golf News.
And now it's time to hear from our local cricket experts on all the action this weekend.
We return back to the 50-over format after Rapina successfully won the 2020 format against Centrals. Saturday will see Rapina and Centrals fight it out for the top of the table clash. In what should be an exciting counter, we see Scott Collison, Daniel Collison and Brad Smith lead the way for the Roosters, and Greg Feebig and Nathan Van Ekeren lead the way for the Roos. I'm going to tip a bit of an upset with Rapina winning. Sunday will see 3rd and 4th place South and North Whyalla play at Memorial Oval. In a very important game for North Whyalla to put themselves 2 games clear in 3rd, they'll be looking for captain Dave Miller with a big performance. South will be looking for the return of Blake Turner-Weebrick and Pat MacArthur. My tip, North Whyalla, and hopefully they can make some runs.
Hello and welcome to round 13 of Port Pirie Cricket. This round sees Wandera take on Solly North at Port Oval on Saturday. Wandera sit atop of the ladder with Solly North in 2nd. I'm tipping Wandera. With Memorial Oval off limits in preparation for the AFL match in March, Props meet Southport at Globe Oval. With 2nd spot still up for grabs, Props will be looking at the bonus point in this match. I'm tipping Props.
Welcome to this week's Port Lincoln Cricket Tips. Huge weekend of cricket with 2020 finals on Sunday, but first Saturday cricket and SES and Todd River at Centenary Oval. Be a really good game. SES though should be too strong and get over the line in this one. Cheltenham and Lincoln South out at Poole Oval. Lincoln South are in some good 2020 form and they'll hopefully bring that into the 50-over cricket. And in the final game of the round sees Tasmans and Waybacks battle it out at Ravendale. I think the Tasman boys will be too strong here and should get the chocolates in that one. Moving on to Sunday, sees games at Centenary Oval from 9 o'clock in the morning, 11:30 and then a grand final at 2:30 in the afternoon. Come along for what should be a really good day's cricket at Centenary Oval.
Yeah, g'day. Welcome to round 13 of Port Augusta cricket. This week we see Corn take on South Augusta in Corn. South are currently top, Corn are 2nd. Corn have to win if they want to try to beat South Augusta straight into the grand final. This should be a very good match. I'm going to lean toward the top side South to beat Corn, but only just. The other match takes on great significance as well, with Westies taking on Central at Edsa. Westies, well, both sides have to win. Whoever loses this match is probably done for the season, so It's going to be a tight game. I'm only going to lean towards Central Stirling just to beat West Augusta. So there are my two winners, South Augusta and Central Stirling.
Round 12 in Broken Hill District Cricket this weekend, back into 40 over mode. South take on West at the Alma Oval. This should be a very intriguing match. There's been nothing between the two sides most of the season. I'm tipping a South win here. They've just got over the West over the last couple of games by a few runs, and I think this will be the case again. At the game at the Jubilee Oval, North take on Central. Central struggling a little bit this year, but once again, one keeps expecting them to return to winning form, but I think the Northerners might have too many runs on the board in the final analysis.
Stay with us after the break. We'll have a check on the weekend weather forecast with Britt. Welcome back. Now time to take a look at what's happening in the weather this weekend. Here's Britt Aylen.
Thanks, Louise. Well, we've had a bright and sunny Friday. Port Augusta with a top of 36 today, Whyalla 31, Port Lincoln 27, Broken Hill 33 and Port Pirie 35. We saw clear skies today under a high pressure system which is moving rapidly eastwards. A trough of low pressure will extend across the Gulf on Sunday. To the waters now, winds east to southeasterly at 15 to 20 knots, swells to 2.5 metres. And sunrise is due at 20 to 7 with sunset at 8:25. And it's looking to be a hot and mostly sunny weekend. 41 the top for Port Augusta and Woodner tomorrow. It'll be 40 at Port Pirie, Kadina 39, Broken Hill and Corn 38, Whyalla and Cleve 37, a top of 33 for Port Lincoln and Coffin Bay and 31 at Clare. And Sunday's looking fine as well. 30 the max in Port Lincoln, cloudy and 27 on Monday there. Cleve looking at a top of 38 on Sunday, 31 on Monday. Staying sunny all weekend at Woodner, 36 on Sunday. Whyalla hot and sunny all weekend, temperatures dropping a little on Monday. Port Augusta 41 on Sunday with maximums in the 30s to kick off the week. Kadina sunny and 36 on Sunday. Port Pirie looking partly cloudy on Sunday, 39 the top, 35 on Monday. Similar conditions for Clare, 38 on Sunday. And mostly sunny days ahead for Broken Hill, 39 on Sunday, Monday 37. So Louise, it looks like we've got some hot and sunny days ahead.
Thanks for that, Britt. That's all from us for now. We'll have updates again later. We'll see you then. Good night.